Sometimes we get into stacking silver and we never have a real plan in place on what to do. We buy whatever seems right, hoping everything will work out. But stacking can be so much easier when you have a simple plan in place. And today, I'm going to show you how you can build yours and some things you should consider along the way. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Want to win 100 ounces of American Silver Eagles completely free? Well, in case you missed out on the first opportunity, JM Bullion is now giving you a second chance to win 5 full tubes of 100 coins packed in a custom waterproof Pelican case. There is no purchase necessary, and the newest and latest giveaway is going to end on December 11th of this year. And if you want to get in on this last opportunity, click the link in the description below for a chance to win. And again, just to be clear, JM Bullion is not sponsoring this channel in any sort of way. This is just me wanting to pass this opportunity along to help you guys out. So don't miss out on this. Click on the link in the description to enter for your chance to win 100 ounces of free silver. Hi everybody, and welcome back to yet another video. So we've talked a lot about the emotional impulses and how to avoid certain things, and I've mentioned plenty of times as well on setting a plan and getting that in place, but I never discussed anything in detail on what that might look like or even how to structure one. So even if the sentiments shift overnight, or you discover a YouTube video that emotionally influences you to make or commit to something that you normally wouldn't do, having a plan in place will protect you from reacting emotionally or overreacting, or at least reduce any of the risks that you may encounter along the way. So as we go through all this, just take a moment to think about your current situation and where you are in the stacking journey, because whether you're on day 1, year 10, 20, 30, whatever it is, you'll want to make sure that you think of all the different ways on how to reduce your risk, such as overspending or the ability to pass the precious metals down to your family members when it comes time to sell, and any other things that you may encounter along the way. Do I have everything that I need in place to make proper decisions each and every single time that'll allow me to not feel guilty about it when things get easy or when things get difficult? So the first step is something you should be able to answer, especially if you've been stacking for some time. However, if you're new, you may not have that answer yet, and it might not be clear enough, but at some point you should be able to easily explain to someone why you stack precious metals. Now, I don't want to get into the details of what types of precious metals, but rather the main overall foundation of why, and I found that it usually falls into a couple of categories. So I personally believe people tend to stack for these reasons, and one is for wealth preservation. We all know that precious metals is not a short-term get-rich-quick type of idea. It is a stable, long-term storage of wealth that will carry your financial status throughout time. And the second one is a hedge against the system. Since the dollar is fiat, stacking precious metals is a way of separating yourself from the system and betting against the current ways of how things operate. Also being your own bank, if you will, and possibly mix in along all that with a bit of a possible SHTF type of scenarios. And thirdly, is you may be a long-term growth speculator, perhaps viewed with a more investment angle. You believe that precious metals will hold future price breakouts given the current situations going on around the world. And lastly, a hobbyist. Numismatics and coin collecting is your thing, and while stacking numismatics might not be the right term, but the idea of silver or gold coins and bars, they overlap with each other, and you may see these as more as a hobby than anything else. Now, you don't need to pick just one. I would say we all fall into more than one of those reasons as to why we stack, but usually one will gravitate to you immediately in your head. And whichever one that is, just write that down, because that is your why. And I'll give you my why just for fun. I'll give you the reason why I stack, and it's because I'm hedging against the system. I'm placing a small bet that things won't work out, and I believe that precious metals will reduce my risk from playing the same game that the system wants me to play. So once you decide why you want to get into precious metals, the next thing you should do is define a buying rhythm, because one mistake that a lot of people make when they get started is that they will just dump a lot of money into this right away because they get excited. And I even made that mistake when I first got started. I dropped nearly 5K in 1 month on like 2 transactions for no reason other than just because. So setting a way to buy needs to be a practical and consistent thing, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, etc. Consistency will always beat any sort of timing, and we talk a lot about that with the dollar cost averaging. So whatever schedule you set, whether that's by a time frame amount or by a dollar amount, being consistent in how you buy will save you from making costly mistakes. So you can imagine dropping $5,000 like I did could have backfired against me, and it could have been very reckless, but luckily it wasn't. But I'd rather make a mistake with $100 than $5,000. So just for an example, if your budget is $100 a month, just stick to the $100 a month. Don't try to chase or fight it. It'll build trust over time. Trust me. And step 3 should be defining your goals and what it is that you want to stack. And now, to be completely honest, this one can be very complicated, and this part you're honestly not going to really understand fully until you actually start buying now and then, because as I stated earlier, your goals are going to change constantly, whether that's the foundation of your why or how many ounces you're trying to target. Just don't be afraid to set a simple goal and just change it now and then, because eventually you're going to settle with something that you can accept, and you're not going to be changing it as often. And even after almost 5 years of stacking, I still adjust my goals periodically. But knowing also what type of silver to stack based off what your goal or why is, that can be kind of difficult too, because there are so many options out there, and that is going to take some time to learn. And this is just a part of the stacking journey, and we're all going to go through this, but you just got to do what you can to learn about each types of silver, whether it's a government coin, a round, 90% silver, etc. They all have a purpose that they serve, and that's going to be too much to cover in this video, but maybe in a different video later on down the road. Now, for step 4, this is choosing an exit strategy before you even need it, and I want to reemphasize this again. You need to think of how you want to exit your precious metals before you even have to, because it's easy to think for a while as to why you might want to buy something, but other than getting a profit, selling never really gets much thought beyond that. And there are many different things that can go into the selling or exiting, such as how much you get back in premiums. Is it going to sell below, at, or above spot? The type of silver that you buy or sell will impact that greatly, but also thinking about the tax consequences for selling. And if you don't plan to sell other than for emergencies, what about passing down the precious metals? Do you have a will or a trust in place, or something that will determine what will happen to the precious metals when they get passed down? There are so many things that we ignore in the selling stages because we get so caught up about buying them in the first place. Have an exit strategy. It is just as important as the rest. So guys, that's a very simplistic cover of what a plan looks like, and the details of it all is going to be up to you and you only. And some people might do it differently, and that's okay, but you should figure out what works for you, because it really only matters as to what works for you specifically. Because these plans should take the stress, the greed, and fears away and allow you to comfortably and confidently stack more and more consistently and ignore any of the noise that comes along with it. And feel free to copy any ideas that you find out there that work for you, because it's not about being perfect, but it's more about being consistent. Because when you know why you're stacking, how often, to what extent, and how to get out if need be, you'll find that taking any action in the future becomes so much easier, and that's going to be the difference between an emotional stacker who's going to lose and a confident stacker who is going to win. That being said, guys, let me know your primary stacking purposes below. I want to see the different reasons that are out there and any other info that you may want to share along with it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.